I know what you think when I say rally. You think Sebastian Loeb, lots of dirt, going around corners sideways, and Kimi Räikkönen not quite cracking it. But there is another kind of rally, one where the cars are a little older, the times are a little slower, and the skill set is slightly different. It's called a regulation rally, and rather than being a test of how quickly one can drive from one point to another, it's a test of how well a driver and navigator can maintain average speeds across set distances. Now in its 44th year, the Continental Milligan Vintage Trial is the country's premier vintage car rally, and this year, RPM TV was there to test our skills. Sheridan Renfield was kind enough to lend us a car and some not inconsiderable experience. So Sheridan, tell me what the car is and a little bit of its history.
This is a 1972 Alfa Berliner with a 1750 motor, 5-speed manual gearbox. It's exactly original from new. It's had one owner from 1972 until 2007. It's done genuine 153,000 kilometers in 41 years.
It's obviously a very old car, so things have progressed in the meantime, so it's not at all like modern cars. What can I expect in terms of driving?
Well, it's a very, very responsive 1750 motor. It's got supreme power. But in fifth gear, you can probably cover most of your hill climbs. You don't have to change down much to fourth. It should double declutch from first to second to make the gear change smooth. It has a twin brake booster system, but you're not going to have like a high performance braking. It's a little bit hard. Make sure you put a bit of pressure on your brake pedal.
Alphas have got themselves a reputation of not being the most reliable. Has this car ever given you any trouble?
I want to tell you that car does not use water, doesn't drip oil, and if it does drip oil, then at least we know we've got oil in the motor.
Technical briefing over, it was time for a quick check of the equipment before heading off to the start line. It may lack any semblance of modern driving technology, but it was surprisingly easy to get to grips with the 40-year-old Alfa Romeo. Which was good, because there were a lot of other things to concentrate on once we got started.
All right, you've got 10 seconds coming up. Select your gears and let's get ready to go. Right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. It'll buzz like that for a minute.
It was a fairly gentle start to the rally, but I was about to find out that even though the speeds were low, the concentration level required was pretty high. Literally every meter of the way, Sheridan, who has won this event 8 times in the past, was barking instructions, and it sounded like this.
We've got 10 seconds to reach this board. Keep going as you are. Keep going. Keep going like you carry on. Spot on. Keep going 50 k's an hour there. Okay, the next one is an N12 Oudtshoorn 50 N9 Uniondale.
It was his first time as a navigator, but I was more worried about my driving because it's not as straightforward as it looks. You're not only concentrating on all the regular traffic that's going on, so people behind you, the traffic signs, the road conditions, and all that. You've got to worry about your average speed. You've got to make sure you're keeping at a constant speed to reach the checkpoints in time. And what's the difficulty in that, I hear you ask? Well, regulation rally rules require that the car's odometer and speedometer are covered, so you have to judge speed and distance purely by feel, sound, and a few clues provided by the organizers. A route schedule tells you what speeds you need to maintain between various points and the precise times you should arrive at certain landmarks, with marshals checking your progress all along the way. Timing is everything in this event, and the eventual winner is the team who arrives at the various checkpoints closest to the time set by the organizers. So, now that you understand how the rules work and that your odometer is covered, to give yourself an idea of how difficult it can be, next time you're on the road, don't look at your speedometer and guess the speed that you're doing, and see how close you come. You'd be surprised at how difficult it is to judge your speed without a speedometer. And it's not like we're doing 60 or 70 or 100 kilometers an hour. We're doing 64 kilometers an hour or 42 kilometers an hour. So it is incredibly difficult at times. And even though we had an experienced campaigner in our team who ran 4 stopwatches to keep us on time, we still had the occasional moment of confusion.
No, I don't understand it. If we were early, if that clue came up after the date, yes, that came up long after. But at this pace, I'm going to get you on time. So it does. In fact, we're going to be late.
So we've reached Oudtshoorn, and by all accounts, we're doing pretty well. We arrived at the robot pretty much on time. The thing is, to keep the speeds is fine. If you were on a straight level road and you need to go 64, that's fine, you can do that. But roads aren't flat, and they aren't straight, they go uphill and downhill and around corners, and you've got to deal with traffic, and you know, the whole time you're getting instructions and discussing the route, so that also throws your concentration a bit. And then things like through Oudtshoorn, we've got to keep it at an average of 25 kilometers an hour, plus we've got traffic lights to judge. So it kind of all adds up, and I tell you, it is surprisingly tiring. It's not the distances or the speeds that are draining, it's the level of concentration. Your driving brain isn't allowed to switch off for a second as you make your way through the stage. Eventually, though, we found ourselves at the end of the day's running. Instead of energy drinks and a technical debrief, though, we had some tea and made our way back to the hotel. So we're back in George after about 150 kilometers out on the route, and we've just heard the results for the day. How do we do?
The best. We came in 5th overall for the day.
Out of 30 competitors?
Out of 30 competitors. For me, it's fantastic. But I think we would have done far better. It wasn't on the route schedule, but just near the end, there was a herd of cattle that came across the road.
Those are the kinds of things you have to deal with on a rally like this. We had a roadwork section that we just narrowly managed to avoid. We would have been held up there for a good minute or two.
Exactly.
So after 5th today, I think tomorrow we should aim a little bit higher. Maybe, what do you think, 3rd is possible?
I would like to make the podium for tomorrow. 1st, 2nd, 3rd for the day would be fantastic.
No pressure at all. By day 2, I was a little more relaxed behind the wheel. We had an interesting section this morning through a town with lots of left, right and very low speed stuff. So we also, on the way out, thought we'd missed one of the points, so there was a bit of mild panic, but we picked it up. And we're now heading down to Renendal by Neisner, and I think we're doing pretty well. I think we're keeping it on time. The pressure was on to try get Sheridan's podium finish. The drive went smoothly, there were no missed checkpoints, but one of the other things they throw at you is a self-timed checkpoint, at which teams have to write down the time they arrive. A single figure was written down incorrectly, which had us guessing the actual time when we reached the end, and ultimately it kept us off the podium. After 2 days behind the wheel, I had new respect for old Alphas and a new outlook on what some might think is a stress-free tour through the countryside. Trying to figure out what the car's doing, trying to react to what the car's doing, going uphill, round corners, dealing with traffic. It's not a small undertaking, and you've got to respect the people that do this on a regular basis, because it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of hard work as well. At the finish, defending champs Colin and Anne Mayer once again took top spot. The RPM TV team scored fewer penalty points on day 2, but still only managed 7th place.